What has been an adventure, though, has been the San Francisco 49ers, as we just kind of spoke about in the last hour, navigating or adventuring through the contract dispute with Brandon Aiyuk, who has made a case for being paid as one of the top receivers in the NFL. However, he has not been able to come to that agreement with the 49ers. They're now looking for potential trade partners. We talked about the Steelers being one. However, the Patriots, who were rumored to be one of those teams, has backed out. So that market is becoming a lot smaller market for Brandon Aiyuk and his agent to figure out that deal. But let's hear from head coach Kyle Shanahan in regards to the situation.
Is there a scenario where you do a long-term deal with him?
There's a scenario for everything, so I want to rule anything out.
And if you traded Brandon Aiyuk, could you see a scenario where you're better because of that?
I mean, Brandon's a great player, so it's real hard to be better when you lose a great player. So we got to look into anything. We got to understand the situation we're in, what that looks like, and that does take time. So hopefully it'll all work out best for him and best for us in the long run.
Is there a disappointment it's reached this point? I know it could be resolved. But
I mean, it's been at this point for a little bit, so it's nothing really new to me. I mean, you're always disappointed when you can't keep a hold of all your players or it's not going exactly right. I mean, I don't like losing anybody, so that's why I'm hoping it does work out here.
It's a great poker face, man.
It is, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think just listening to that soundbite, I feel like it confirms what I was saying. Like, Kyle Shanahan doesn't want to lose Brandon Aiyuk. Major piece of the puzzle for them, gives them that extra that weapon that they can do, deep balls, certain plays that.
So you think they get a deal done? You think they'll end up keeping him?
I think he gets put in a position where the market speaks, and you and I both know, Q. Like you can take. If a team is giving you the opportunity to say, hey, like if you really think we're treating you unfairly, and I will say that the timing of it sucks. If they really wanted to do this the right way, do it let's say the first day before, the day before free agency opens up. Let them request a trade. Let him go after a trade. If you really are like, we can't get this done, we're too far apart, so you can request a trade. Do that right before free agency starts. Grant him that permission. But the fact that they did it this late, I feel like they're looking at it like, listen, you heard Kyle Shanahan say, it's been going on for a while now. So if this has been going on for a while now and you've granted him the opportunity to seek a trade, because I do believe that the way it's reported, he has to be able to facilitate to the other team, what it is that's going to take place if the trade were to happen, right? Like the other team has to agree to, whatever it is that, okay, this is how we get the deal done or whatever. I mean, I don't know. You know the contract stuff, all that stuff better than I do. But it's basically in Aiyuk's agency's their hands to be able to facilitate another team wanting to do the trade with the 49ers. So if you're giving him the opportunity to do that, and it doesn't work out, you got to take a good, long, hard look in the mirror. Why would you sit out? I think we learned from Le'Veon Bell, you don't sit out. You come in and you play. Now, Trent Williams, that might be a different scenario. I really do. If I'm Trent Williams, I'm going to stay put. Because I think that there's a premium on his position. He has proven outright that he's one of the best to ever do it. Not just one of the best. He's one of the best to ever do it at his position. So he may have more bargaining power in terms of what it is he's trying to get. But as far as if I'm Brandon Aiyuk, listening to what Kyle Shanahan just said, they're waiting on him to realize that the market for him isn't as large as he thought it was. So come on back home. Let's win some games, and let's stay away from all of this. Like, let's let the agents and the money people, the negotiators for the 49ers, let's let them handle it, and you come play ball, and let's worry about winning games.
I think ideally, they find a way of having him come back for this year at a minimum. As they've exercised the fifth-year option on his rookie deal. He was a first-round pick, so he will be compensated $14.1 million. But based on his production, that's clearly lower than what a lot of other players are getting.
Sure.
But to your last point, which I think stands out the most to me, is that's where I feel like the 49ers, at least from a negotiation standpoint, have the advantage, is they've allowed a free agency to go through where I don't know how well known it was that Brandon Aiyuk wanted to potentially sign I don't want to say a record-breaking deal, but at least be at top of the wide receiver market. I assume the 49ers knew maybe they weren't to a point where they couldn't find an agreement and couldn't work out a trade at that point with another team to satisfy what he was looking for. Maybe they did. Maybe they got the same answer they're getting now. You go through the draft. We talked about that yesterday. There were so many talented wide receivers that teams were in need of a wide receiver, would rather spend that first-round pick, grab one there, not have to make the same financial commitment. I mean, literally, if you look at the 4-year plus the 5th-year option, that 4-year guarantee deal for a first-round pick probably equates to the number that Aiyuk is looking for in just 1 year of this new contract. If you're talking about $30 million, I mean, that's literally a 4-year deal for some of these first-round picked wide receivers in totality. So they went for a more economical, cheaper option, and then you had the period of time since then where if things came to a standstill, there's been plenty of teams who could do the homework on their roster and say, do we feel like we need to make this move for Brandon Aiyuk? And so all this time's played out now where they've had a chance and an opportunity to evaluate, and clearly the Patriots, who are now backing out of this, they're not involved. And that leaves, and the Washington Commandos, who at one point were, now don't appear to be involved. It leaves maybe essentially just the Steelers. And that's the tough part. I mean, the Browns were at one point, they had framework in place to do a deal, but it'd be a swap for Amari Cooper. And so at least the 49ers are getting something back in return. So I kind of look at this and just say, I think from the 49ers perspective, to your last point, they have allowed the market to say to them, this is how you're viewed. Like, if you want to try to make more money elsewhere, so be it. We value you. This is what's on the table for you. But we're not going to spend more than we feel like we should when, there's other teams passing on you in this capacity too. It's almost like with the franchise tag, where, teams are not putting the exclusive franchise tag anymore to allow other teams to do the negotiating or the bidding for them. And then if they do agree, put forth some sort of long-term extension, the team has the ability to match. So there's all those things that, like, we've kind of seen over the years, the past couple of years, that I think also have kind of played a role in the team saying, we're more than willing to let you go see what your market value is, but we feel like we're giving you a pretty fair deal. It's almost like buying a car right now. Like, you can shop around all you want. The price is the price, man. Like, we're trying to look at trading in a car right now with the 2 different dealerships, right? 2 completely different dealerships. They both came back and said, your trade-in's worth this. The car you're looking at's worth this. And it was literally within maybe a couple $100 of each other. Yeah. It's like all the information's out there. It's all out there. Like, what we're offering you is fair. And either you want to sign this deal or find someone who might be desperate. But at this point in time of the year, no one is that desperate. Although maybe it's a foregone conclusion, though, Brandon Aiyuk won't be there. And maybe we're just missing out on that. Lee, do we have the sound from Christian McCaffrey?
Situation with Brandon, just as a teammate with his, not knowing whether he's going to be here or not, the ramped up conversation and reports about a possible trade. How do you guys deal with that in-house?
Well, for me, I don't deal with it. That's not part of my job. It's not part of my position. I think, obviously, as a former teammate or teammate of his in general, any teammate that you have, you love, you respect them, you want the best for them. As far as the business side of this game goes, it's always difficult, and so I stay out of it completely. That's way above my pay grade, and I just try to focus on what I can do every single day. But obviously, we always wish the best for any of our teammates, whether they're here or not. Obviously, we hope he's here. Just it's a tough part of the business.
It's not a way bigger. It's not above your pay grade.
Was that a slip there? You already called him a former teammate.
It was a slip. It definitely was a slip, but it definitely isn't far beyond his pay grade. I mean, it's just not his responsibility or his duty to make that decision. But I heard that as well. I wonder if it was a slip, and that's the conversation that's taking place in the locker room. But, another point, just super quickly, what comes to mind, and this is kind of lost sometimes because we get so caught up into thinking about what is and what what these players wanted to be, but he agreed to a contract. And whether for good or for bad, and okay, it's a rookie contract, it's still something that was negotiated. It's still something that was agreed to, and it's still something that was signed for. And I think so many times we get lost in that, right? It's like, oh, what about him getting that franchise tag, or, oh, he might hold out, or this, that, and the other, and he might not play because he wants his contract. You got to keep in mind, these are athletes who are kind of trying to leverage the fact that they feel as though they have outperformed their contract and they want a new one. But they're under contract. You said when you became a employee of this franchise that this was the deal that gets the deal done for you. These are the numbers that gets this deal done for you. So if we want to do an extension, if we want to rip up the contract, we will. And that can be a conversation. I think culturally speaking, in terms of, sports culture, or maybe in particular football culture, that there's this idea that once a player starts creating the conversations of, I want an extension, that it has to be done. This has to get done. This has to be done. But you can't venture away from the idea that the origin of all of this is that you did a deal coming in as a rookie, and actually, if they want to negotiate with you, that should be the first indicator that you have actually played well enough to get a different contract. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to give you, this is now the time where you give me a new contract, or else. No, you have another year on your contract. And for what it's worth, in most industries, you got to play out your contract. Your contract is ending before you start negotiating for a new contract.